Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Padajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Padajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam. I'm sorry, that's for the Gita, isn't it? Om Namo Bhagavate, that's for the Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tapas.
Yes, Prabhu. We finished 1871, but you said that you wanted to do it again because of lack of time.
Oh, okay. All right, let's do that. Yeah, I know, but we're going to redo 71. On this 29th day of December, 2021 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 18 entitled The Perfection of Renunciation. And we're going to redo text 71, and then we'll do 72 also. We'll read them together. On page 709. Shraddhavan Anusuyascha Shinuyad Apiyo Naraha Sopi Muktaha Shubhalokan Prapnuyat Punyakarmanam Shraddhavan Anusuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan Dimitri. Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam. Prabhu. Shraddhavan anasuyascha Shnuyat piyo naraha sopi mukta shubhalokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam. Zoomland.
Shraddhavan anasuyascha
Shraddhavan anasuyascha
Shrunyat api jo naraha
Shnuyat piyo naraha
sopi mukta shubhalokan
sopi mukta shubhalokan
prapunyat punyakarmanam.
prapnuyat punyakarmanam.
Shraddhavan anasuyascha
Shraddhavan anasuyascha
Shrudnayadapiyo naraha
Shnuyat piyo naraha
sopi mukta shubhalokan
sopi mukta shubhalokan
prapnuyat punyakarmanam.
prapnuyat punyakarmanam.
Shraddhavan anasuyascha
Shraddhavan anasuyascha
Shrunuyat apiyo naraha
Shnuyat piyo naraha
sopi muktak shubhalokan
sopi mukta shubhalokan
prapnuyat punyakarmanam.
prapnuyat punyakarmanam. Shraddhavan, faithful, anusuyaha, not envious, cha, and shinuyat, does hear, api, certainly, yaha, who, naraha, a man, saha, he, api, also, muktaha, being liberated, shubhan, the auspicious, lokan, planets, prapnuyat, he attains, punyakarmanam, of the pious. Translation, Krishna says to Arjuna, and one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. Purport. In the 67th verse of this chapter, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gitas being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, the Bhagavad Gita is for the devotees only. But it so happens that sometimes the devotee of the Lord will hold open class, and in that class not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such persons hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not envious of Krishna. They have faith in him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary systems where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing the Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Generally, those who are free from sinful reactions, those who are righteous, very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word punya karmanam is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices like the Ashvamedha Yajna mentioned in the Vedic literature. Those who are righteous in performing devotional service, but who are not pure, can attain the planetary system of the pole star, or Dhruvaloka, where Dhruva Maharaj is presiding. He is a great devotee of the Lord, and he has a special planet which is called the pole star. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So one verse that comes to mind when I read this purport again was in the description of the different levels of devotees, Mahabhagavat and the Madhyama Adhikari and the Kanishta Adhikari in the 11th canto. Again, 9 Yogendras. And the verse for the Madhyama Adhikari is very pertinent here. He says, Ishvare tat arineshu, bali sheshu vishatrusha, prema maitri kripa upeksha yakaroti samadhyama. So this is it's a nice feature of Sanskrit that sometimes I'll have a list and then a list of adjectives or verbs, and they match up. Just like we have in English the word respectively. Means that, blue, red, and yellow respectively means that the different groups of cheerleaders were wearing that or something. So that's, in this verse we have 4 elements. Ishvara, the Lord. That Edineshu, the devotees, that means those in relationship to the Lord, direct relationship. Bali Sheshu, the innocent. And Vishatsu, those who are envious, those who are inimical toward the devotees. So these 4 different categories of persons the Madhyama Adhikari relates to in the following ways. For the Lord, tries to develop love, prema. For the devotees, friendship. For the innocent, kripa, mercy. And for the envious, he ignores them, avoids them. You see. So that's what's being explained here. There are so many people who are innocent. They're not directly inimical toward Krishna or the devotees. They're not out-and-out atheists, certainly. They just don't know. More or less, I would put them in a big category called agnostic. Someone who goes, I don't know if there's a God or not, But since I can't see him, I'll just go about, making money to pay my rent. But if they may be open to it, because the natural tendency of the living entity is to want to contact God again. So if the right opportunity comes, such people can respond. And especially if they have some pious background, if there's some piety in their background, then they're more receptive. So we have to search out those people. Like I remember, I wasn't at all interested in even the topic of spirituality until, by Krishna's arrangement, I became a vegetarian and I was doing yoga. So I was, and just by force of circumstances, I was following the 4 regs. I was trying to recover from the serious disease, so there was no intoxication or anything, And so, and I became a vegetarian. And then my interest peaked in these things. Not all at once did I make a beeline to the temple and get Prabhupada's books, but I started looking into yoga in general, even Buddhism. I had a whole library, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That was fascinating. I mean, this is something that a lot of people in the 60s were doing anyway. But it became interesting to me when I became a little bit purified. That's the point. So therefore, the great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, they search out for those people. And if you give an open class, and there may be people in there, and it happened. If you listen to these classes, sometimes there were people who were inimical, or they wanted to make their own speech. There's all kinds of things happen. They weren't exactly receptive to the message. But while Prabhupada is talking to that person, who may not be, so many others are listening. And they're getting Prabhupada's pure vibration and association. And in this way, a certain percentage become curious enough to buy a book or even begin chanting like that, you know. So that's what he's describing here. But here, in verse, Krishna is describing kind of the ideal hearer with faith and lack of any enmity or enviousness. As I like to point out, this word envious has two meanings that Prabhupada gives it, and both from the dictionary. One's not as common in American English. The common meaning, of course, is to be jealous, to be disturbed by something, someone else has something that you feel you should have. I'm envious of you know. But another meaning is simply to bear malice toward, to have a bad feeling toward someone. You know, that's also there, especially in the Oxford English Dictionary. And Prabhupada used envy to mean that. So anasuya, it has that general meaning of not bearing malice, being friendly, neutral at least, not making a prejudice against, you know. So that's, and having faith, especially having faith. And so if such a person hears, a human being, then he becomes liberated from his bad karma. Now it's interesting that Krishna talks about going to the planets where the pious dwell. It doesn't exactly say going back to Godhead there. And so in the purport, Prabhupada says Dhruva Loka. But Dhruva Loka is a special Vaikuntha planet within this material world. So, in other words, it's very auspicious for such a person to hear. Okay, let's go on. Text 72. Kachit etat shutam partha tvayakagrena chetasa kachit ajnana sammoha panashtaste dhananjaya. So now, Krishna is asking the question: Have you absorbed the knowledge? And Prabhupada says, if he says no, then he's ready to speak the whole thing again, which is fortunately not necessary. By the way, there's an editing change here. You probably have in your book, in the translation, and are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Is that what you all have? It should be illusion, a single illusion. Illusion dispelled. O son of Prita, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? Purport. The Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears the Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. The Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Well, that's pretty hopeful. I mean, you may be hearing me all this time, but you're certainly hearing Prabhupada. The essence of the class is Prabhupada's here. So it's a promise here that you'll be liberated. Doesn't say exactly when, but you're going in the right direction. So what is that qualification? Have you heard with an attentive mind? This is submissive all reception, shu, the very word comes in the previous verse. And it means ardent hearing or submissive all reception. What does that mean? It means attentiveness, and it means acceptance of the instructions. And they're all what we call, when I was studying ethics in my philosophy days, normative. Normative means that they're meant to establish norms for behavior. And if you accept them, then you get the benefit. There's no dearth of explanations of the benefit of following the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. You please Krishna, and eventually you go back to Godhead. Several times Krishna promises that in the book. And we just heard the key verse, Manmana bhavamadbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mama varshasi satyante pradijane priyosime. Just think of me, become my devotee, worship me, bow down to me. I promise you'll come to me, dear friend, if you do that. And so that's the best benefit that there could possibly be. So if one has some faith in this, as Krishna says in the previous verse, Shraddhavan, then we'll make an effort to do that. And fide kai grena, this with one pointed attention. This is the key. We heard with it this morning how Rajendrananda showed an incredible ability, which I never had, of listening to Prabhupada's lecture and then explaining, and then being able to recall all the points that he made in the lecture. That's tvakai grena. That's 1 point. Eka means one pointed attention. And in fact, that kind of 1 pointed attention is something that we should strive for in every activity we perform in devotional service. Whether it's tying your devotee, putting on your tilak, listening to the words of the Gurvashtaka, which we sing first in the morning. Because the word is so profound. The very first words we hear are how we've been saved from birth and death and struggling in the material world by the mercy cloud, which is the Guru. Sangsara dhava nadalita loka tranaya. Right? So we're burning in this forest fire, birth and death, old age and disease, out of ignorance. And the spiritual master comes, and as a representative of the parampara, he's giving Krishna's words in an authorized way that has potency. And the fact that we're singing that song at 4:30 in the morning means that we're making an effort to advance. So being saved from this horrible, conflagration, Holocaust, Bhaktivinoda calls it. And I'm trying to enjoy the Holocaust. This is the problem. So, and it goes on. Every word and phrase is full of meaning. And if we're hearing it, this is one of the difficulties, because it's all Sanskrit and Bengali. And since most of us are not fluent in Sanskrit and Bengali, are you, Sal? Maybe a little bit, huh? Then oftentimes, because we just got up maybe 10 minutes ago, and flying by. The words are flying by. We're not actually thinking of the meaning. I remember there were certain temples when I lived in a fair number of temples, where they would say the English after the Gurvashtaka. So after the whole article is over, you actually go through. It'd take a little time, but at least you get the meaning, So that is one evidence of one-pointed attention, when you're really focusing on the sounds that are coming, and also all the details of the altar. What you see in Krishna's lotus feet and the flute and how he's holding it. In other words, you're completely there. What is that famous phrase? It's immortalized. Be here now. This is from Baba Das. It's very. That's a yoga meditation idea, and it pertains throughout. Be here now. The more that you are here, focused on everything that's going on, the more that we'll benefit from all the sadhana that we do, especially hearing the holy name of the Lord. So let's see what Arjun answers. This is a very suspense. We'll leave that unless there are any questions here, comments.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Vijay Krishna. Prabhu.
But not, thank you, Dravida Prabhu, but not related to this verse, related to the previous verse.
Okay.
The quote is the first sentence of the purport. Quote, in the 67th verse of this chapter, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gitas being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. End quote. So my question is, what are the symptoms to be found in a person who is envious of the Lord?
Well, the prime symptom is that they won't attend the Bhagavad Gita class. They ignore it. You see, the envy, it's mixed. That's why he talks about Shraddhavan in this verse that that you don't have any faith. That's a sign of being envious. It means that the main sign is that they don't even think that God exists. What to speak of, a blue boy with a flute. Yeah, that's just one. That's another crazy idea. In other words, they put it all in the realm of something that is just another concoction, and that's really how envy often manifests. Is you fail to take the whole process seriously, And that's why Srila Prabhupada's preaching so often focused on where you're at. We were talking about this morning, that Western religions often they try to instill fear of hell, fear of not just hell, eternal damnation in hell, burning, you know. That would scare any little girl going to church, Catholic church, right? So, because that's where people are at. In other words, yeah, we have some experience of pain and suffering. We know that, you know, and we don't want to maximize that. So maybe I should take this seriously. But the Krishna is, you know, from another culture, is Hindu, whatever, you know, they put it in the box, and so this makes a blockage that stops them from being receptive at all to the message. And if you try to, you know, approach them, maybe you've experienced this in Sankirtan. Sometimes people are inimical. We hear so many stories from Vijay, you know, how you confront people confronting, and how you react to that, which is really, you have to be very cool. You can't let it escalate into some, you know, physical thing. So that's one of the main symptoms, that people doubt the whole thing and they see you as a threat. This was certainly true in the deprogramming days, because there was always an effort to make new devotees. And the parents were sometimes freaked out. You know, they said, oh, the dangerous cult. And there were dangerous cults. They still are, you know, who just try to exploit their followers, don't give them anything genuine, you know, all kinds of abuse. So they we had this phrase, don't lump us in. You know, that was one of the things during the deprogramming, when we were fighting the deprogram. So that is another way that people can be inimical. They have no faith, just the opposite. They doubt that this is at all beneficial for myself or my offspring. And then they try to, you know, forcibly withdraw the kid or the young man, young woman. We had many instances like that. So this is some of the symptoms of those who are envious of the Lord, and that tendency. Now, of course, we're coming from a conditioned state, so we may also have a tendency not to be directly envious toward the Lord, but to express doubts or some kind of friction with our God brothers or God sisters, with the various elements of the process. There is all kinds of ways that Maya can trick us into losing faith and losing determination in Krishna consciousness. So it's not something just for others, but we have to be on guard to always listen and cultivate that ardent hearing and that submissive all reception, because that's the door that opens up the whole process of devotional service. So that's what I would say about that, Prabhu.
Yes, Dravida Prabhu, again, wonderful answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
As long as it wasn't breathtaking. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, so let's go on. Text 73. Now here's the key phrase, here's the key verse, because Arjuna is the model for how we should also feel after hearing the Gita. Arjuna vacha nashto moha smritir labdha tvatpasaran mayachyuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanang tava. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Purport. The constitutional position of a living entity, represented by Arjuna, is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature. But in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires, yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya to trap the living entity, is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? That he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally a servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is the master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, does not know that the Supreme Lord is the Master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he understood Krishna factually. So, to study the Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, that's the end of the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. The rest is Sanjay speaking. And this is really, quite a statement. Nashto moha. My illusion has been destroyed by Krishna's words. Smriti labda. I have regained my memory. So this is important, is that we are originally with Krishna in the spiritual world. This is the understanding. But having turned away from him, we've forgotten him for so many eons, so many lifetimes of Brahma. Dr. Daniel, can you give me a close estimate how long does Brahma live? This Brahma. What was it? 311 trillion? How many? Yeah, roughly. You left out 40 billion, but when you're talking about 311 trillion, 40 billion is not so much. Long, long time, right? So, and when he dies, the whole universe winds up, and we go merging back into Mahavishnu, and we're unconscious. We don't die, but we're not even dreaming. We're dreamless sleep for another 311 trillion, 40 billion years, because Brahma lives for one breath of Mahavishnu. So Prabhupada said, you can just imagine the caliber of Mahavishnu. Inconceivable. So how long has this been going on? We don't know. And therefore it's called anadi, without beginning. It's from before the universe was created, this has been going on. So here we are sitting here, and we've given the clue in great detail of how to end this unpleasant situation, where again and again we die, we're reborn, up and down, It's just inconceivable. And always we have, because we're an illusion, we forget the previous life, that this time we're going to enjoy somehow. Even in subhuman bodies, we have this mentality. So it's been going on. So now, Arjuna, he's of course an eternal friend of Krishna. How could he fall into illusion? He was put into illusion by Krishna so the Bhagavad Gita could be spoken. That's the idea. And here, but for him, he felt he was an illusion. It was real. I mean, he was crying, he was trembling, he dropped his bow, he wasn't acting. But it was all simply Krishna's arrangement so that Arjuna, representing us, would hear the Bhagavad Gita and then it would be spoken. And the fact that it's printed in all these different languages and distributed, that's all part of Krishna's plan to save the world. So, Nashto Moha Smriti Labdha, I've gotten back my memory. So now going all the way back to when he surrenders. Karpa Nidosho Pahata Sabhava. This is the first line of 2.7, where he stops arguing with Krishna and giving him all kinds of reasons why he's not going to fight. And he says, due to my miserly weakness, Karpa Nidosho Upahata Swabhava, my nature, Swabhava, as a Kshatriya, has been lost. It's been taken away from me. The fact that he dropped his bow and he's trembling, he's crying, he doesn't want to fight, that's not Kshatriya, right? Because he's conflicted. He's got all these people he loves on the other side, and he doesn't see what's the point of fighting and getting this kingdom that'll be just soaked with the blood of the people I love. How is that going to help? I don't want that kingdom. You see? Saul, maybe sit on a chair or stand up or take a nap, take rest. One of those. So, how has he gotten back his memory? By your mercy. Tvat prasadan mayachyuta. Now it's interesting that he calls him achyuta. Prabhupada has given a new meaning to the word infallible. If you look up the word infallible in the dictionary, it means one who never makes a mistake. Right? That's what it means. But for Prabhupada, even pronounce it this way, infallible, cannot fall. That's what achyuta means, never falls down. So that means Krishna never falls under the sway of Maya. He never falls under the control of Maya. We do, because we're minute. So he addresses Krishna as achyuta, meaning that you being in the permanent transcendence have, by your mercy, have removed my illusion. And stitosmi, I am now situated in my real position. In other words, I'm back where I belong. And my doubts are gone. All my doubts, Gata Sunday, have finished. And the result of it all, Karishe Vachanang Tava. I will act as you say. Now we can come before the Lord every day, of course we may have to pray like that, but if you can just Karishe Vachanang Tava, that I will act as you say, that's the essence of bhakti. And Krishna, whatever he's trying to, instructions he's giving us, either directly through Bhagavad Gita or through his representatives who are teaching, living the Bhagavad Gita, they're for our own good. They're for our own good. Prabhupada would not compromise, the 4 eggs, and he said, I could easily do like all the others would do and say, do whatever you want. Just come here, meditate, and then you'll get initiated. I was standing in line, I swear. This was the first yoga studio I went to. And the guru had come, the founder. And he insisted on being put up into a penthouse in Manhattan. You know how much that costs every day? So he's there, and we were standing online. We were going to be able to see him for a few minutes. And if you paid $15, you could get initiation. I didn't pay any money. So, and it was a scam. And the person who was running that ashram for him was our very own Amala Bhakta Swami now. I don't know if you know him. He's famous for his recordings. He recorded much more than I did. But I met him, and then I went to a different place. But he told me when I was working at BTG the whole story about how he became disenchanted because of all of this mercenary, activity. And one of the big things was he was getting fat. I mean, that's not. He had a book which he made when he was very young. He was very slim. He was doing all the asanas and everything, But then he was just letting it go, Anyway, the point is that he was not a transparent medium for the words of Krishna, which is really what we need. He was one of many who came, and in the name of yoga, people didn't know anything, you know, and so they got attracted here and there. This is one of the characteristics of the age. If you happen to be somewhat searching, the chances are you'll be misguided. What is that? Payanopais kalavasman yuge manda sumanda matayo. So manda matayo means that your mind is diverted away from where it should be, and you're cheated. In other words, world of the cheaters and the cheated. So Arjuna has not been cheated. Krishna is not a cheater, nor are his representatives. And this is a wonderful verse to meditate on. This is how we should receive the Gita, and this is how we should come to the conclusion of the Gita, that we will act as Krishna says, that our illusion is been destroyed by the words of Krishna and his pure representative. So it's a wonderful, and now things will wind up. Okay, any comments in this important verse and this wonderful purport? Okay. We have the mic? No one got the mic.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we should always have those mics, please, next time.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So my question here is regarding, the literal translation of the word moha. So doesn't moha mean attachment? Or is it like translated into illusion here because attachment is illusion?
No, moha is illusion. Oh. And moha induces you to become attached to what is impermanent. Krishna is Madana Mohan. In other words, he defeats or bewilders our attraction to sex life, which is the chief attraction that's keeping us from Krishna consciousness. So he's Madana Mohan. And Radharani, of course, is Madana Mohan and Mohini. She's the one who attracts Krishna. But moha means illusion. Or Prabhupada would often use the verb illusioned, which can also be just delusioned, deluded. So we're deluded by Maya's phantasmagoria, which is a reflection of the wonders of the spiritual world. That's why it's so attractive to us. But we made a commitment to turn our back to Krishna, so our face is toward the external energy, and we become illusion life after life. Right? That's moha.
I had one more question, if it's okay.
Go ahead.
So you mentioned that at the end, when the universe ends, we merge back into the Mahavishnu. So
yeah,
at the end,
so we don't merge exactly, but we enter into.
We enter.
Yeah.
So my question is what is our form when we enter the Mahavishnu? Are we in our, say you're a normal person, are you in the person form or?
No, it's just you don't have a physical body.
Oh, okay.
And the subtle body is dormant. I mean, all of the records there of your karma and everything are there, but it's latent. Nothing is happening. You're like in a suspended animation. You're not thinking, you don't know anything for 311 trillion years. And then we come out again when it's time for creation, and Mahavishnu wakes up, and he glances, and he breathes out all the universes, and he we get injected back into the universes. And then Brahma's job is to arrange for us to have bodies so we can take up where we left off and fulfill the karma. So we don't have any kind of body then, physical. The subtle body is still there, but it's also dormant. Do we need that? We want to go through that again? It's like, I've never been in this, but some people, the suspended, what do they call it? The tank where you go in? What is it? Yeah, sensory deprivation tank. So that can be a great relief, perfect temperature, and you're kind of floating there, and it's peaceful. But how long can you do that? And so, oh my God, I'm late for this appointment. I got to go. You have to come back out of there. So that's kind of a mini merging into Mahavishnu. Everything is suspended, but it's not even like that because you're not conscious. But it's a suspension. And then it starts over again. So actually, I wanted to just say one more thing about this purport. It's so rich. And here Prabhupada starts out practically with Lord Chaitanya says the actual position of the living entity is eternal servant of the Lord. So this is the Sarup. Sarup means your actual form. The forms we have now are constantly changing. These aren't our real forms. You know, they're all just coatings or coverings on the soul. Just like I'm wearing this jacket, but this isn't me. You know, and it's not more me any more than the body is me. The body is also like a jacket, right? So, what's our actual Sarup? This was the question that Sanatana Goswami asked Lord Chaitanya. Who am I? You know, really? And the answer Prabhupada gives, he gives the English, of course, Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas. This is the words of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. So, every jiva is eternally a servant of Krishna. Well, how have we forgotten it? Because tatasta, it goes on, the answer. Krishnera tatasta shakti. We are the marginal energy of Krishna. Marginal means that we have a tendency, we have the ability always, eternally, of being attracted by Maya. And if we don't stick close to Krishna's lotus feet and are always in the serving mood, we get curious about the material energy. Prabhupada talked about it that way. Then we can easily be attracted and get covered over. Maya has these two energies, Avarnatmaka and Prakshepatmaka. Avarnatmaka is covering, that's the first one, covering your knowledge, your memory. And then Prakshepatmaka is to throw you down into the clutches of the relative world. And that's where we've been for all the countless eons. So this is our chance to get out. We should take it. And follow what Arjun says. Yes, Karishe Vachanang Tava. That's the idea. All right. We have time for one more. Now this is Sanjay's. Oh, I'm sorry. Dhanavari, you have something?
Yeah, I want to, Prabhu, thank you. Nice class. I want to ask you the question that Prabhu asked in related to this, the Mahavishnu. He said how long, we enter into Mahavishnu's thing, after how long does it take? So nobody is born during that time.
There's no creation. This creation is temporary. The material energy. If you read the third canto, Kapila Deva explains it in detail. How the manifestation takes place with the modes of nature interacting with the different elements of the subtle body, the ego, the false ego. But the idea is that that's the whole point of this this word asat. Asat means it's not eternal. So nothing in this material world is eternal. Now we as spirit souls are eternal, certainly, and the super soul, of course, is eternal. But all of this matter is temporary. It may last a long time relative to our lifetimes, but ultimately it's all withdrawn again within the body of Mahavishnu. And he's specifically there for the creation. He's one of the Purusha avatars, one of the three, And so when we get this annihilation, where the fire comes and there's huge flood and everything is just dissolved and the whole thing is just get back into its constituent elements, just like we go through an annihilation every time we die. The whole body becomes dysfunctional. You die, you leave the body, and it just regresses back into its elements. If to burn it, bury it, it's just element, just matter. So imagine that happening to the entire creation. It's all just reverting, and all of this temporary thing. That's why Prabhupada I sent the letter, the Kohental. Oh, I'm sorry, Anand. Yeah. So it's Prabhupada explains, because the question was, and it's very cogent. Well, how did we get here? It doesn't seem to make any sense. Krishna says, "Yadgat bhanana vartante tadama paramamala." Once going there, you'll never return. Well, then, what about those who are always there? Why should they ever come down? What's the difference? So Prabhupada once he talks about once burned, twice shy. That also, that if you we have been inoculated. Maybe I don't use that analogy. We have kind of antibodies against getting tempted again. I don't want to carry it too far, but we are marginal. Krishna's marginal energy. It's not that we are temporary. That is our eternal Sarup. Marginal means that we can be attracted. We're on the margin. We can be attracted by the material energy. Now, how can we avoid that? By always praying to Krishna. staying close to his lotus feet, always wanting to serve him. And then Maya can't touch us. She doesn't want to. She's engaging in this thankless task of binding the living entities, of inducing them, just like she tried to do with Haridas Thakur. You know, there's two instances. One was by a prostitute, and then again by Maya Devi herself tried to come and seduce him. Prabhupada says she allured him, but she didn't allure him. To be allured means that you're tempted, you're attracted, but you know, if you're tempted, you can avoid it. But he wasn't tempted at all. He wasn't attracted at all to Maya Devi personified. Instead, she took instruction from him, and she surrendered to him. So what strength that is, you can imagine? You know, we get a little distracted by something, and you have to bring your mind back and chant Hare Krishna. But to imagine if the flow of your interest, of your attraction, is wholly and solely at every second to Krishna's lotus feet, and is glorifying him, serving him, and everything. Then there's no question of being, and that's what's going on in this spiritual world. 3/4 of the living entities, they never come here. 100% of the time, they're simply focused on Krishna and the relation with Krishna and varieties of ways of enjoying serving him and dancing and all these things. That's real life. So we should be, as Prabhupada says in the purport, I think to 934, one should be fascinated by this information. One should not even divert his attention to the other forms. You know, he said, just focus on Krishna, who's most attractive. We can actually be attracted right out of this material world. So that's the conclusion of this Gita, Karashe Vachanang Tava, is that now we'll do follow all of the instructions that we've been given, and with absolute confidence that Krishna will bless us with more and more attraction to him, more and more love for him, and going back to the spiritual world ultimately, and complete disinterest in matter and all these different things we've been absorbed in.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol, another question? No?
Yeah, I said thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Oh, we have another question here from him. We're down to one mic.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Does the spirit form resemble the Krishna's form with 2 hands and 2 legs?
Prabhupada says our original form is a human-like form because we're made in the image of God. And it says in the Bible, he said that. But there's also this understanding that our Sarup can be anything in the Goloka Vrindavan. So we could be gopis, we could be gopas, we could even be cows, you know. So we don't know. So the idea is that we should more and more hear, you know, Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan, and we'll naturally, if we get purified, that we'll become more and more attracted to the kind of relationships that a gopa or gopi has like that. That's how it works. So you don't know what it is, but it can be. But we should always remember, every entity there is fully conscious. You know, the bees, they come and they buzz around Krishna's garland, but they're not just buzzing. They're singing all kinds of stotras and stutis, and you know, it's a great position. We're friendly bees. We're going to be bees up there. There's a verse about the bees. I'll end with this. You know this one. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of Goddess Shri. Now you have to know the word lim, L-I-M-N, which means to describe. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of Goddess Shri, and there to rest the Besed reeds, a temple for the bees, who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play, while Shri Hari most gleefully acclaims the way they pray. For Braja's love-mad milkmaids and for all the Brahmins' wives, Shri Krishna is the ultimate good fortune in their lives. His sandal-paste anointed limbs bedim the full moon's glow. Unto the lotus feet of Shri Hari I bow down low. You can chant that 100 times, it'll never get old. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol. Oh, this is very difficult to find this verse. Yeah, write me. Do you have my email? Yeah. I'll send you. I can send you a whole Stavamala where the verse is. Look.